Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into something that's going to totally flip how you see the world around you. We're talking about the idea that reality, everything you see and touch, isn't actually this fixed, solid thing. It's more like a totally flexible tapestry, constantly being shaped by observation, the dimensions of space and time, and, yeah, even your own consciousness. So, if you've ever stared at a solid object and thought, what is that really made of? Or looked up at the night sky and wondered where the physical universe stops and the spiritual one begins, well, you're in exactly the right place. Let's get right into it.
So here's our roadmap for today. We're hitting 3 main stops. First up, the physical illusion, then the flexible cosmos, and finally, we'll explore the non-physical realms.
All right, part 1, the physical illusion. We're looking at holograms and quantum fields.
Okay, let's kick things off with a totally mind-bending concept. What if the 3D universe we navigate every single day is literally just a projection for our physical eyes? I want to throw this question out there right away just to shake up how you view the solid world. When you look at the room you're sitting in right now, it feels completely three-dimensional, right? But what if it isn't? What if everything you're experiencing is actually a lot more like those shiny holographic stickers you used to pull out of cereal boxes? You know, a flat, two-dimensional surface that's just brilliantly designed to trick you into seeing a 3D reality.
And that brings us to the holographic principle. To wrap our heads around this, think about a big bowl of chicken soup. Normally, you know the chicken and carrots are scattered all the way through the depth of the bowl. But if reality works according to the holographic principle, you wouldn't actually need to dig your spoon all the way to the bottom to know what's in there. You could just look at the flat, 2D surface of the soup and see literally all the information, all the ingredients just encoded right there on top. A lot of physicists suspect our universe could operate exactly like that. All the information that builds our 3D reality might just be projected from a flat, 2D boundary way out at the edge of the universe, meaning we might essentially be living inside a massive holographic projection. Crazy, right?
So the huge takeaway here is that matter itself just isn't what it seems. We always tend to picture fundamental particles as these tiny rock-solid little dots, but quantum physics completely shatters that idea with wave-particle duality. When they aren't being observed, these particles don't act solid at all. They behave like these spreading waves, just rippling out across completely invisible quantum fields. It's kind of like this massive quantum dance floor, where these fields are interacting and the particles are just twirling and spreading out. They exist in this weird state of multiple, overlapping possibilities, right up until something comes along and forces them to solidify.
And what exactly triggers them to suddenly snap into a solid state? Well, it's observation. This is the famous observer effect. Now, in our everyday world, standing on the sidewalk watching a house burn down doesn't change the fire. But down in the quantum world, particles are incredibly shy. They literally change their behavior the second they know they're being watched by a conscious mind or a measuring tool. Think of it like sticking a cold thermometer into a pot of boiling water. The very act of putting that tool in to measure the water actually steals a tiny bit of heat and lowers the temperature. In a very similar way, the mere act of observing or measuring forces that spreading quantum wave to just drop everything and solidify into a definite physical particle.
Moving on to part 2, the flexible cosmos. We're talking about stretching space and time. So let's zoom out and see how this all plays out on a macro level. We're shifting away from those fleeting quantum moments and looking at the vast, totally flexible expanse of space and time. Because time, it is definitely not just some fixed clock ticking away at the exact same speed for everyone. Einstein's theory of relativity blew that out of the water, proving that a person's individual fields of space and time can actually stretch or shrink. The absolute best example of this is the twin paradox. Imagine 2 twin sisters. Anna decides to just stay here on Earth and binge-watch TV, while Eve hops in a spaceship and travels near the speed of light. Because traveling at super high speeds actually slows down the passage of time, when Eve finally gets back, she hasn't aged a single day. Meanwhile, Anna is older and totally gray-haired. It's wild, but it absolutely proves that the timeline of our reality is insanely flexible. But you know, this flexibility isn't just about zooming around in spaceships. It's actually about the choices you make every single day. Welcome to the historical multiverse. Let's say it's 8 a.m. You're faced with a choice. Do you eat a leftover slice of cake for breakfast, or do you go for a run? Well, according to the historical multiverse theory, you don't actually just pick one. Time splits. In timeline A, you eat the cake, but in a newly branched timeline B, you skip the dessert and hit the pavement. The idea is that every single individual choice you make branches off into countless new timelines. It creates this incredibly vast historical multiverse where totally parallel histories are unfolding simultaneously, all based on every single decision you've ever made. So beyond just branching timelines, what is the physical structure of the universe actually made of? Well, one leading theory suggests bubble universes. Picture a cosmic bathtub, just filled to the brim with expanding soap bubbles, where our specific universe is just one of those bubbles, floating around with its own unique laws of physics. Then there's membrane or brain theory, which pictures universes more like giant trampolines in a massive cosmic park. And sometimes these bouncy reality sheets actually collide with each other, which some physicists think might even be what triggers a Big Bang. And then, of course, we have string theory, which suggests reality is fundamentally made of these unbelievably tiny vibrating strings existing across extra hidden dimensions that we can't even perceive. But here is the crucial thing to remember. All of these, the bubbles, the trampolines, the strings, they are all still entirely physical structures governed by standard physical laws.
Which brings us to our third and final section: the non-physical realms, minds, heavens, and stillness.
Okay, so we've explored the physical rules, but what happens when we strip the physical away entirely? Let's step into the mental and spiritual frameworks of reality. The absolute core difference here comes down to composition. While the physical multiverse is made of those material bubbles and vibrating strings we just talked about, there's also the multiverse of minds. And this is a vast, entirely non-physical network. Think about it. When you dream at night, or when you vividly imagine yourself, say, walking on Mars, you are generating entirely real, parallel worlds composed of thoughts, feelings, and conscious experiences. This mental multiverse exists right alongside our physical one. It isn't restricted by standard physical laws like gravity or speed limits, but it interacts with the physical world directly through your brain. In this view, imagination isn't just pretending, it is a literal, structural part of reality. And depending on a person's perspective, and really their level of enlightenment, they can actually perceive entirely different realms of this reality. In a lot of ancient frameworks, reality was viewed as this layered system of heavens. So we're going to ascend this cosmic ladder step by step together, starting right here in the everyday visible world and climbing all the way up to the absolute, invisible, highest plane. So we start right on the ground floor with the visible heavens. The first heaven is the atmospheric heaven. It's the air we're breathing right now, the clouds, the birds, the thunderstorms, the weather forecasts on the news. Basically, it's the front porch of reality. But if you look past those clouds, you enter the second heaven, the cosmic heaven. This is that awe-inspiring, jaw-dropping expanse of space, absolutely packed with planets, stars, and massive galaxies like the Milky Way. It's grand, it's deeply humbling, and it's where distances become so infinite that time itself stretches. But as unimaginably massive as it is, it's still just the physical realm. Now, if you keep ascending past all those galaxies, the sky basically stops being sky. We reach the third heaven, paradise. And you cannot reach this place in a rocket ship or see it through a giant telescope because it completely drops all physical rules. It exists entirely beyond matter and time. This is considered the ultimate spiritual center, the place where the divine actually resides. Think of it kind of like the inner circle of reality, this divine VIP section where pure presence exists, totally free from all the heavy constraints of the physical multiverse we discussed earlier. Finally, at the very peak of this perceptual ascent, we find the Empyrean. This is the absolute highest level of reality. But what's fascinating is that there are no angels steering stars up here, no pearly gates, no motion at all. It is just pure, absolute stillness. The idea is that souls who reach this perceptual level aren't climbing or striving anymore. It's not about trying to be the best or making some huge cosmic impact. It is simply about being whole. It is a place of profound, absolute completion, where everything that ever felt broken or disconnected is just quietly put back together. So let me leave you with this thought to chew on. We've journeyed from these bizarre holographic subatomic waves that only turn solid when you look at them, straight through the branching timelines of all your historical choices, into the vast non-physical multiverse of your own mind, and finally, all the way up to the absolute stillness of the Empyrean. The cosmos is just incredibly, wonderfully flexible. So, ask yourself, what is your reality truly built on right now? Are you just navigating physical particles and the timelines of your choices? Is it just the thoughts in your head? Or are you connected to something higher? Definitely something to think about the next time you look up at the clouds, or even just down at your own hands. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep exploring.